Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to an unscheduled live stream. I was in physical therapy, but I got the breaking news while I was inside. I raced home to come and deliver the news to you. I know most of you have heard it already. Stephan Sterns has been charged with murder of Madeline Soto. Today, it was announced the grand jury reached an indictment, and that perhaps might have been one of the reasons why his court today was postponed. I have the arrest affidavit. I have the murder indictment. I'll read it to you guys after we watch the press conference. For those of you who are in the chat, the wheels of justice are now starting to turn, and we're now seeing the charges that we've all been waiting for. Ed Wallace and myself have been speaking about this all morning. We talked about this and how frustrated we all were. They've been working for 8 weeks behind the scenes, and today we heard from the Attorney General, the state of Florida. We heard from the chief of the Kissimmee Police Department, and we're going to take a listen now. By a show of hands in the chat, how many of you have heard the press conference? I know that there were some outlets that were playing it and they didn't have it live. Just by a show of hands, who have seen the press conference? Who also has seen the arrest affidavit? I have exclusive, somebody shared with me exclusive documents, and I'll share it with you guys after this. We'll read it together. So I just want you guys to hear it, and we'll break it down, what this all means and what we could be looking out in the future here. So here's the Attorney General for the state of Florida, I believe, or let's take a listen.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Today, the Kissimmee Police Chief and myself are here to provide an update on the death investigation on 13-year-old Madeline Soto, who was reported missing back on February 26th of this year and discovered dead 4 days later. I know the community and the media have been anxious for us to give an update on this case, and this is an opportunity for us to do that. For the last 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks actually, the Kissimmee Police Department and my office have been working closely to go over every piece of evidence that we could gather in this case. It was a voluminous and a lot of evidence to get through during that time, but we were successful in getting through it and making sure that we were able to provide the best case we could. Today, we're announcing that Stephan Sterns has been indicted by the grand jury on first-degree murder for the killing of Madeline Soto. We presented the case to the grand jury. They returned an indictment earlier today. There has been some questions as related to the length of investigation. I just want to let you know again that my office and the Kissimmee Police Department have been working vigilantly in making sure that we had every opportunity to get every piece of evidence that we could. I want to thank the Kissimmee Police Department and their tireless efforts. They've done an amazing job in the heavy lift that we've asked them to do, as well as the prosecutors that have been assigned to this case and making sure that we got every piece of evidence reviewed and gathered in this case. While death investigations usually take around 5 to 6 weeks or longer, we were able to get this one done relatively quickly and get the case to the front of the grand jury, like I said earlier today, to return the indictment against Mr. Stephan Sterns. The death penalty in this case, we have not decided to what decision we're going to make in that case. We're going to continue those discussions going forward, and we'll let you know again.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right here just for a second because most of us have seen this. Murder in the first degree, ladies and gentlemen, murder in the first degree. They have not decided whether they will seek a capital punishment on this case. But however, we know from the charges, the 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under the age of 12, those charges are death penalty eligible. So he is just using caution here. But ladies and gentlemen, they have more than enough if they want to proceed with the capital murder charge, capital punishment against Stephan Sterns. They have it here. I'm just going to reassure you. They have it here without this murder first degree charge, and they now have a double whammy on this guy. So hallelujah, and let the wheels of justice spin and let justice be served for this poor young 13-year-old soul. This goes dating back into her single-digit years. that this monster, that this savage was sexually abusing this minor, this young child. So I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep if they come back with a decision. To you guys feel about it? Let me know in the chat how you feel about it. Let's listen to the rest.
When we make that decision as to what we have not decided to what decision we're going to make in that case. We're going to continue those discussions going forward, and we'll let you know again when we make that decision as to whether we're going to seek the death penalty in this case. I want to thank the grand jury for their hard work and their efforts in making sure that we're making this first step in seeking justice for Madeline Soto, for her family, and so the community can have closure in this case. The defendant will appear at initial appearances, I believe probably the next day or two. Then the case will proceed down its normal path, and we'll try to keep you abreast of how the case is moving, as well as you probably ask us questions to make sure that we are providing that proper information to keep you abreast of how the case is going down the normal path of the criminal justice system. I'd like now to introduce Chief of Police Betty Holland, and for her to provide comment.
Thank you, State Attorney Mr. Bain. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the investigators and the other agencies that assisted us in uncovering the evidence to move forward with this case.
Let me know in the chat by putting a 1 if the sound is good. I heard that the sound wasn't great. I have it really loud and clear in my ears. Just before I let the rest of this go, let me know in the chat if the sound is good at the podium. This is Police Chief Holland. Let me know in the chat by just putting a 1 if it's good. All right, Debbie Carroll says it's all good. I got a couple of people, a whole bunch of 1s. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
This case has gained significant that assisted us in uncovering the evidence to move forward with this case. We know this case has gained significant public attention because Madeline had just celebrated her 13th birthday and was just a child. The evidence shows an individual that was entrusted to keep Madeline safe made calculated moves to dispose Madeline's belongings and place her body in a wooded area before she was ever reported missing. For the 4 days following her disappearance, the entire community was actively looking to find Madeline safe and alive. Tragically, on March 1st, Madeline's remains were found. Our detectives have worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading up to Madeline's disappearance and death. With the collaboration of the state's attorney's office, we prepared the case for the grand jury that was heard today. The grand jury determined that our department secured enough evidence to obtain a first-degree murder indictment. We appreciate each grand jury member for their careful consideration. We want to thank the diligent work of the state's attorney's office, the medical examiner's office, and our other law enforcement partners who assisted with this investigation. Your expertise and dedication were instrumental in uncovering the truth. The indictment signifies a crucial step forward in our quest for justice and a testament to our commitment to honoring Madeline's memory. We will now take questions. Right, I'm going to defer to the state's attorney.
Okay, the reporter asked, can you give us the cause of death? Ed and I spoke about this morning. So she deferred to the medical examiner's office, I believe, or the state attorney. I believe it was the state attorney. Let's hear what he has to say.
Good afternoon. Although an indictment has been returned this afternoon, it is still an open and ongoing criminal investigation. So much of this information cannot be disclosed until Mr. Sterns' attorney, if he does so, elects to participate in discovery, and then all of you in the media know how to go about seeking information through public records.
Not that we've uncovered.
Okay, so was there anyone else in that house that participated? I'm going to listen again with my headphones on. I'm going to put the sound enhancer on. I want to listen again for this.
Not that we've uncovered. State attorney?
Okay.
Again, all questions about the facts of the case are not subject to disclosure because of public records laws at this time. Once his attorney participates in discovery, then you can make public records requests through your normal channels as you do in other cases.
Okay, so what he's saying here is until the Stephan Sterns defense gets all of the discovery, then they cannot make it public. Therefore, the questions that the reporters are asking about the cause and manner of death, well, again, we know one part of this, but the additional questions about who was inside the house or if anything else was happening, that's going to be held back until all of the discovery is shared with the defense.
At this time, the only person being charged is Stephan Sterns. And again, this is not over. There is an ongoing investigation to uncover more evidence, and therefore we can't comment.
Will anybody else be charged, essentially, is what the reporter asked. And he said it's still an active and ongoing investigation. We hear this often. We hear the statement of that it's an active and ongoing investigation. So they did not say, and I know what that reporter was alluding to was, what about Jennifer Soto? What about anyone else? Was there any enterprise? Was there more people who Stephan Sterns shared videos and photographs of our poor victim? Is anyone else going to be hauled in and arrested as it's pertaining to Madeline Soto and these 60 plus charges of sexual battery on a child under 12, sexual battery on a child between the ages of 12 and 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, and all of the additional 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child. It's just sickening, but they're going to continue to ask these questions now.
There's going to be the same response on any question about the facts of the case. Through the facts of the case.
So with any death case that is reviewed by my office, when it's determined to be a homicide, we have to look at the statutory aggravating factors that are laid out in our Florida law. Once we've determined that we have sufficient evidence to prove those factors to the proper evidentiary standard, then we had to have to talk about whether this is a death penalty case. And that's a discussion that we're still going to be having for the next couple of weeks to make sure that we're making a legal decision that's appropriate in this case.
I don't think anybody's going to find fault if they come forward and say that Stephan Sterns qualifies for the capital punishment, not just only for the 60 plus horrific and vile counts of sexual battery against the child under the age of 12, but also for her murder. He brutally murdered her and discarded her in a field on private property in a farmer's field. Just let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. That in itself, in my book, and again, I'm a Catholic. I strongly believe that this guy needs to be put down, and that's just my personal opinion. Don't shoot the messenger.
We're still going to be here. We have to look at the statutory aggravating factors that are laid out in our Florida law. Once we've determined that we have sufficient evidence to prove those factors to the proper evidentiary standard, then we had to have to talk about whether this is a death penalty case. And that's a discussion that we're still going to be having for the next couple of weeks to make sure that we're making a legal decision that's appropriate in this case.
Considering so many other factors, people you guys are looking into, have you decided to participate in your investigation?
I'll leave that for Mr. Will.
Has Mr. Sterns, I can't believe they're calling him Mr. Sterns. Did anybody else get pissed off by that when they call these heinous devils, these demonic folks that commit these heinous crimes against our young children? They call him Mr. Sterns. I guess, you got to be proper. But they asked him, has Stephan Sterns participated in this investigation? And as we know, up to this point, he was pleading the fifth and requesting an attorney. So I would say to myself, no, he hasn't participated, because remember they said once he was charged, he just stopped talking. After that friendly car ride by the sheriff of Orange County to Osceola County jail, that whole body cam footage that we went over, Ed Wallace and myself, he didn't say anything after that.
Cannot comment on whether Mr. Sterns has been doing anything. He has counsel. And as far as plea offers, no, there are no plea offers made on the open case.
Okay, so that was a definitive no plea deals. People were wondering if Stephan Sterns gave up Madeline Soto, Jennifer Soto, Madeline Soto's mom. People were talking today to us about if Stephan Sterns cooperated and implicated Jennifer Soto, Madeline's mom, that they would give him some type of plea deal. He just confirmed that there is no such plea deal or anything on the table at this point. So that's encouraging.
You can address that question with the indictment that should be on the clerk's website if it's not already.
I'm going to have to defer to the state's attorney.
Again, any question about the facts of the case, it's going to be the same answer. Once his attorney participates in discovery, the public records laws change, and you all will be able to get a lot of that information.
Okay, so we're having a hard time. I'm having a hard time picking up what these questions are, but I have a feeling that they will not get answered. But what the state attorney office, the prosecutor's office said is that basically once we share our all of our evidence with the defense, with Stephan Sterns' defense, then the news organizations can do public records requests, the FOIA requests. But up until then, those requests will not be honored. So he's basically telling them that's what you have to do. Sana Elise Holt Johnson, thank you for the super love. I appreciate the super sticker. K-Me, thank you for being here and always being present for duty. I appreciate you. Thank you. Good evening, Dutyron and Ed Wallace from Sana Elise Holt Johnson. Dawn Gamma of 3, Grandma of 3, thank you for all you've done. I love this channel. I love that you love us, and we thank you for your kind words and support here. Thank you, Marcia Klepper, for being a member for 1 month. We appreciate you. Thank you. Let's let the rest of this play.
As far as the 60 counts that are already filed against Mr. Sterns, that is solely involving Mr. Sterns as a defendant. Not to those 60 charges. Not.
All right, I got to put my other side of the headphones in to hear this, because I really didn't hear what he said about the 60 charges, and I want to make sure we get that. So let me just plug in this other side. Hold on, folks. I'm dealing with one arm here. All right, I got both sides in. Let me just put it back.
As far as the 60 counts that are already filed against Mr. Sterns, that is solely involving Mr. Sterns as a defendant. Not to those 60 charges.
Okay, so basically he was asking, was anybody else involved with those 60 charges? And essentially they were asking if there was additional perpetrators. And exactly what I alluded to before, ladies and gentlemen, was there any co-conspirators? Did he share any of these images with online predators? We talked about this extensively. Did Stephan Sterns, was he part of an elaborate network of these pedos that are out there sharing and viewing child pornography? And he basically said here, no, these 60 charges that are here up on the board are just pertaining to him. There's no co-defendants. So that's basically what was said there.
Sorry. It's the family working with the investigation.
Is the family working with investigation with the investigators? They're asking if the grandmother, the mother, and any other family members are working with this or have worked with this investigation.
It's an ongoing investigation. Can't comment on who's working with us.
Okay. This will be the last question. I'll let you get that in. What was it?
It's facts of the case. Can't comment on it.
Was he in the house? I don't want to say what I think I heard because I'm not sure. The audio, doesn't it suck when they have these press conferences and the news is not mic'd up and we can't hear them? The news reporters, like sometimes you could hear them pretty good, and in this case, you can hear them hard. You can hardly hear them. So I want to just take a listen again. But they said something about him being in the house, or how long he was there, or something of that nature. So please, grin and bear it. It's so freaking frustrating. But they were asking about this asshole.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Stephan Sterns. They were asking about Stephan Sterns and how long he was in the house.
It's facts of the case. Can't comment on it.
So thank you all so much for coming out today. If you need this gentleman's name, it is Will J, Willjay. He is our homicide unit chief for the state attorney's office for the 9th Judicial Circuit. Thank you all so much for coming out today.
All right, so that is the press conference. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to a local affiliate, and we're going to pull up the homicide arrest warrant. Again, this may be difficult for some of you, and I'm going to put out that disclaimer again. If you suffer from PTSD and things that are difficult to listen to, might bother you, this might be a time to step out. This is the first-degree capital murder charges as hold on a second. Let me just go full screen with this. Let's see if I can set this up a little bit better. Bear with me a second. All right, so it's only 2 pages. So that's the good thing, is it's only 2 pages. But let's see if we can get this full screen. I'm just trying to make it so you guys can see it too, but it's not really cooperating with me. So I'm going to just do the best that I can. You know me, I try to do the best that I can with what I got. All right. So let me know if you could see this. Just put a 1 in the chat if you guys could see the wording. If not, I'll just read it to you. Basically it's grand jury indictment, and it's such a good day for justice. It's a good day for justice for Madeline Soto. So it says basically here, let me know if you could see it. If you can't, I'll take it off the screen. I know that it's tough. Witchcraft is saying, no, I can't see it. But I could see it pretty good, so I could read it to you. It's dated today. It's the state of Florida versus Stephan Michael Sterns. First-degree capital murder. And now they put capital murder on the indictment here. In the name by the authority of the state of Florida, the grand jurors of the county of Osceola duly called and impaneled and sworn to inquire a true bill presentment make in and for the body of the county of Osceola upon their oath present at such and such date and time. Basically here it writes that the defendant, it gives his address and phone number, and it's redacted, gives all of his pedigree, and it basically states, the evidence shows an individual that was entrusted to keep Madeline Soto safe made calculated moves to dispose Madeline's belongings and place her body in a wooded area before she was ever reported missing. The representative of the state and the attorney's office made it clear that the case was still open and ongoing and that a lot of the facts could not be public. Okay, so basically, in this document, they don't spell out what I thought that they would spell out. The indictment says that Sterns allegedly killed Soto between February 25th and February 27th. Her body was found on March 1st. No other details about how Soto died were made immediately clear. The medical examiner's office cited a state statute that prohibits the release of the autopsy report of a minor whose death is related to an act of domestic violence, and that the investigation is still ongoing. The state attorney, Andrew Bain, who we saw and heard from at the podium, said officials are not sure on whether they'll seek the death penalty. He said his office will weigh the decision for the next couple of weeks to make sure they make an appropriate legal decision. And I think that that appropriate legal decision will be, we will hear on this spring term 2024 indictment number 2024 CF 1293, first degree capital murder. So yeah, this is horrifying in many different avenues. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what we were looking for. This is exactly what we've all been waiting for. We've all been waiting that they impaneled a secret grand jury. Now, we've been hearing about secret grand juries on a lot of different cases. We heard it with Rex Heuermann over here on the Long Island serial killer. Impaneling secret grand juries happens often, and nobody hears anything about it. We didn't know anything about this. This grand jury has been working on this indictment for some time, and that's probably perhaps why today Stephan Sterns' pretrial hearing was put off, because they knew that this indictment came down, and they said, there's no sense in trying to go for a pretrial hearing when we've got this capital murder charge that will supersede everything. They're going to go for this capital murder charge first and foremost. So on behalf of Crime Time with Dutyron and Ed Wallace, I just want to say this is, again, this is something we've all been waiting for, and it's the wheels of justice for Madeline Soto. They're in motion. And right now, this monster on the screen, Stephan Sterns, this very monster, I hate to show his face, but this monster is now facing murder in the first degree. And in addition to that, there's 62 additional charges. He was initially charged with 2 charges in the beginning, and then an additional 60 charges tacked on to all of the initial first 2 charges that he was charged with. So that's what we'll be seeing in the days to come. They said in a couple of days he'll be brought forth and formally, grand jury indictment. He's indicted on the charges. So there won't be an arraignment or anything like that, but there'll be some formal court hearings, court proceedings, and I believe that they said in that press conference in the next couple of days. So look for updates on this from Ed Wallace and myself. We're going to follow this case closely. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, because at the end of the day, this is what we got. We have murder charges in the first degree, capital murder, for Stephan Sterns. And that is exactly what we've all been looking for. Hashtag Dutyron, hashtag Ed Wallace in the chat. And I would like to just answer out a couple of questions real quick before we go here. This is what it's about. Madeline Soto right here, 13 years young. She just turned 13 4 or 5 days before she was murdered at that final birthday party on Sunday night. It's just so sad, the possibilities of what her final years were like. We don't know. We do not know at this time, but I think when this trial kicks off, we will hear about her final years and what's happening with what happened with Madeline Soto. So I'm just going to look at the chat real quick. I want to say thank you to the super chatters and all the folks who went the extra step and sent in those super chats and became channel members. If you're not yet subscribed, consider subscribing and hitting the thumbs up.
Please, it helps with the algorithm. Princess Mitch, thank you for being here. Dutyron, is there a list of all the charges? I have it in a prior live stream. I'll link it in the description. There is a list. I read them out. They were horrifying. It's so horrific to hear about these charges. But essentially, in addition to the murder, the 60 new charges are 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under the age of 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, and then 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child. The defendant's digital footprint will tell us a lot. And I'll link all the charges in the description. It's not something that's easy to read. They're disgusting. They're despicable. They're horrendous. They're horrific. Thank you, Sonia, for the $10 super sticker. Much appreciated. But again, this has been breaking news and extended coverage from today on Stephan Sterns. He is now charged with first-degree murder of Madeline Soto, as we see on the screen here. He's, we've yet to hear anything from her mother, and we don't know if pending charges or charges may be forthcoming for Madeline Soto. Let me know in the chat and down below in the comment section. Do you think that Madeline Soto's mom, Jennifer, will be charged with any crimes or anything to do with aiding and abetting, or maybe with conspiracy to conspire with Stephan Sterns? Let me know what you think in the comments here and in the comment section down below. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I think that it is a strong possibility that how could she not have any knowledge of this? How could this gone on under her nose for that amount of time? It just is mind-boggling to me as an investigator. I'm not saying 100% or definitely, but God damn. I mean, how could you not know that your daughter is being molested by your boyfriend for many, many years? If it was something that just started happening, then maybe I could say, well, maybe she just didn't catch on. But this is going on into her single-digit years. Come on. It's just a hard pill to swallow. And that's how I feel. Listen, I want to thank you guys all for being here. I want to thank you for being cheerleaders for justice. We're all cheerleaders for justice, and that's why we're here, and that's why we show up to these live streams, because we want to cheer on the men and women who are taxed with bringing evil monsters like Stephan Sterns to justice for Madeline Soto. So if we can, I just want us to, I'm going to put a full screen, moment of silence for Madeline Soto, and also prayers for strength and justice for the prosecutor and all the team that is charged with, that are taxed with bringing charges and getting a successful prosecution against Stephan Sterns. Thank you all for this moment of silence, and then we'll end it. May Madeline Soto continue to rest in peace. And thank you all for joining. Good day from Crime Time with Dutyron and Ed Wallace. We'll see you on the next one.